All right, 167 then for New Zealand. They had to get those runs the hard way this time. No Conway firing, no Finn Allen firing. They were 15 for 3 at one stage. It took Glenn Phillips, his second T20 100, second 100 that we've seen in this World Cup, to bail New Zealand out. 167, would they take that at half-time? We look at the finer moments of that innings, including some sloppy ones for Sri Lanka in the field that could cost them dearly. This is Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Farveez, Maharoof and Stephen Fleming in a moment, both of whom predicted, I think, something in the 170 range, but only one man picked 167. That precision now has me both admiring him and doubting him a little bit. Tom?
A little bit of luck here, but threw it out there. But yeah, look, I think it's a decent total, and obviously it was very much, the whole innings was salvaged by, quite a remarkable innings from Phillips.
Yeah.
Some great power hitting on display. A lot of the time he looked like he was mishitting those boundaries with those sixes or fours, but yeah, it would have been interesting if they held on to that first catch. Patum Nasanka at deep mid-off. It sort of hit him harder than he expected, and dropped what you'd think at this level a pretty straightforward catch, which cost them massively.
Yeah, he was on 12 at the time. There's another tougher chance that came a bit later, but Phillips had done most of the damage by then. Partnership of 84 with Daryl Mitchell to just bail New Zealand out. Looks like a one-man show. Is that the best you've seen Glenn Phillips bat, Flem?
Yeah, it was, because it was under pressure, and it was a contribution that bucked the trend of the innings. I'm really interested. There was definitely some spongy bounce early on. Williamson's dismissal bounce, and there was times that the slow ball was really sitting up. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't be very happy if I was Sri Lanka. They had a real opportunity there, and just through the fielding mishaps and maybe a few tactical blunders, they let New Zealand off the hook. Glenn Phillips played incredibly well. It was a one-man band. Everyone else was struggling. But to me, just suggests that the score is above par. But looking at Sri Lanka, I think they let one slip massively. So you'd be disappointed with that. The pressure in the field, the fumbles in the field just enabled New Zealand to get back into the game. They had them right on the ropes. And even using Mahesh Tikshana right at the end, if you're going to be positive and go for the killer strike, get them on early and take that fourth wicket, that fifth wicket, and they had a real chance to bowl New Zealand out.
Yeah, I think Farveez could extend on that point. He had said if Sri Lanka can keep New Zealand to anything less than 175 in our pre-match show, they'd be happy. But now that you've seen the surface, points and observations that Stephen Fleming makes, Farveez, 167, is that just a few too many?
Yeah, going into the halfway mark, New Zealand will be the happiest, and as well as you have Trent Bolt, Saudi and Ferguson in your bowling attack. I think Sri Lanka will be a little bit worried, as Fleming said. Sri Lanka had the chance of keeping them under at least 140 if you had to hold on to that catch, as well as so many fumbles in the fielding. So I mean, I haven't seen Sri Lankan team feel that this bad for a long time. I mean, so many fumbles, 2 runs being shared. So all the tactics worked. I mean, we have spoke about Finn Allen getting out, bowling Dhananjay De Silva in the power play, get through some overs, got the cricket of Conroy, Williamson, did all the hard work, and then just slipped away with some, as Stephen said, some technical blunders, as well as mistakes that they will be looking at it at the end of the game. Might think that it cost us the game.
Yeah, it's almost like they did the heavy lifting. They said, yes, we've got the big 3 now, and then just left their foot off a bit.
Yeah, it was the perfect playbook, wasn't it? They made the right moves with Tikshana taking that first over. We talked about Finn Allen, probably hasn't seen a lot of him, and took the wicket, got the momentum, got into the middle order very early. But just through, as we've touched on, or everyone's touched on, the fielding was shocking. And it's so interesting because having sort of followed Sri Lanka over a long period of time and also coached them many years back, one thing that they do pride themselves on is their fielding, and this potentially could be, the biggest issue in this game with regards to the outcome.
This is not as easy a surface to bat on as, say, what we saw in the first game between New Zealand and Australia, or the other day when Riley Russo tunked 100 against Bangladesh.
It appears that way, but again, it's that old adage, you've got to see both teams bowl on it before you can really make an assessment on on the surface itself. But I tend to agree with Flem. I think that total of 167 is probably above par, particularly the way that we saw a couple of the balls behave.
You spent some time with Glenn Phillips. He's quite the character, hasn't he?
He is a real character. He's quite intense. He's very focused, very driven. He's one of the strongest blokes in the world, and it's no surprise to see him sort of bully the ball over the boundary like he does. But it's nice to see another sort of New Zealand, South African scoring some runs for New Zealand, because we saw it in Conway in the first game. And it's nice that they're sort of holding things together.
Stephen, all yours.
There's game, set and match, Moose. Well played.
Even better answer.
Oh, dear.
Oh God.
Okay, let's collect ourselves a bit. I'd like for our panel to break down the first few overs, though, because we were expecting Sri Lanka to go hard with spin against Finn Allen, against Devon Conway. Let me take the Finn Allen wicket first up. Flem, Mahesh Theekshana has got quite the repertoire of deliveries. That one in particular, very impressive. Take me through that one. You've obviously seen Theekshana very closely.
Yeah, he is very skillful. He's a real student of the game. And let's go to Finn Allen. And we talked about putting information into the computer. Well, a couple of balls is not enough when you have a real sort of spin expert like Theekshana with that new ball, and the ability just to swing the ball in or just hold the ball up. It's very hard then to take the right option. And Finn Allen, the inconsistency comes from just sort of almost predetermining where you're going to hit it. And it's very difficult when you've got quite a savvy bowler like Mahesh operating. And that's the big concern for me, is that Finn Allen's going to have his day. And if his day is only 40, it could be match winning or could really set the team up. But he's a better player than that. So just allowing a little bit of time to get a bit more information and then find out what options you're going to play. And almost the same with Devon Conway. It was a very unusual dismissal for him. But again, I look at the bounce and just the subtlety that went on there. And that's why I'm a little bit, I'm in New Zealand's court, funnily enough, just because there's a little bit of bounce and it just behaved a little bit differently. Those slow balls were bouncing. But when you're playing in a T20, you have got a little bit of time to assess that. And I just worry when you come and play one way and it's just hit every ball for 4 or 6, you're going to have the inconsistency, which is going to have you in and out of teams. So he can add that. He's young. He'll add that experience to his game. But we saw again to the 4 tonight that when you don't have quite enough information, you're taking a big risk when you predetermine a shot.
Anything to add to that, Tom?
No, I agree. I think I'm sure he would have seen footage of Theekshana before the match, knowing that he's got that in swinger, off the finger. Again, he can afford to see the first over through, looking to work more leg side than looking to hit through the offside. All those types of things that he would have, thought through, I'm sure, leading into the game. But suddenly when you're out in the middle under pressure, your brain does some silly things at times.
If you were to sort of tell a batter who's not seen a lot of Theekshana, not played a lot of him, Flem, how does one play Theekshana? How do you start?
Well, in Sri Lankan clothing, I'm happy to give a bit of information, but when he's wearing pure yellow, he's very difficult. He's got a lot of mystery deliveries. But I think Tom's right. You look at one or two deliveries that you think he might bowl to you, and then just take a little bit of time if you're not sure. If you see the first one out of the hand, well, that's great. Put it away. The second one, subtly different. You add that to the memory bank. And that's the whole point of batting. Your experience against these guys is every delivery, and then you remember what happened then and how you played it. But if you just predetermine where you're going to hit it or where the field is set, you're going to have some days which are good, but you want to be a bit better than that. And that's just affording yourself a bit of time, weighing it up, and then away you go. Then take the risks. And 6 overs is a long time, but Finn Allen at the moment has got the brief to go right from ball 1, and I guess New Zealand are willing to ride the ups and the downs. But I think there's more to give from Finn Allen if he just takes a little bit more time.
All right, there you have it. Now we'll have a more detailed chat. There are lots of other points of conversation we can explore. The approach from both openers, trying to sort of back away from the spinners, take them on hard. We'll probably go into that, go into some bowling choices and see which way we want to move this game, depending on the result. Because that's sort of score 167. Sri Lanka chased it down easily, and all of a sudden we're looking at a different game. does look like New Zealand have a good score for the surface that we have. Farveez, Maharoof, final words from you. How are we seeing this game going? Sri Lanka?
I mean, first 6 overs with the new ball, Saudi, Trent Bolt, Ferguson. I think that will be the test for Sri Lanka. I think top of one of the batters in the top three, if they could bat through and get the middle order, bat their natural game, and get Dasun Shanak and Banu Rajapaksa into the system. And also, the biggest plus point from the last game for me was Charith Asalanka's form. So he's going to be key with the left arm spinner and a leg spinner bowling in tandem in the middle overs. Charith Asalanka will be key as well. It's all about the start for 6 overs. If Sri Lanka can manage to get a decent score, something close to 40, the maximum lose of 1 wicket, I think Sri Lanka still can do this. All depends on the start.
Tom, final words?
Yeah, look, I think New Zealand have got their nose in front. There's no question. But if they can preserve those wickets in the power play and their 2 left-handers in the middle sort of play an aggressive game against New Zealand's spin, we could see an upset.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Don't be surprised if we...
Could be some surprises.
yeah. Flem.
Many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprised to hear you say that, Tom.
I'm guessing with your words, Flem, that you think Sri Lanka have let this slip a little and this is an above par score. I'm guessing you're backing New Zealand to defend this?
Oh, look, I am. It's not unattainable by any means. You'd say it's only a par score, but what could have been, and that's what I think Sri Lanka have got to shake off, because you walk off saying, well, if we took that catch and maybe a few different bowling changes, it could have been a lot less than this. But if that flows into their batting, yeah, they'll get soundly beaten. But if they just come out and play well, and as Maharoof said, if they can just get a good 6 overs. But what I'm worried about is that steep bounce. So the steep bounce seemed to cause some problems around timing. It was Glenn Phillips that was able to overcome that. So I'll be really interested to see what Sri Lankan player is going to do, stand up and do the same thing. They're more than capable of chasing this down. And that's why the first 6 overs will be intriguing.
Very well. It does look like it's not been the most auspicious of starts. It looks like Pathum Nissanka's ended up swinging hard at one and been given our LBW. There probably might be a review, so won't get ahead of ourselves. We'll see where this game stands at the end of it all and pick up the chat with Farveez, Maharoof, Stephen Fleming and Tom Moody on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time. Before I leave you, let me remind you once more, just check out the very cool Cricinfoverse with Grand Vitara. It's the fans' newest destination. You can build your own avatar, interact with other cricket fans, get a virtual tour of the studios of Cricinfo and get a sneak peek at the advanced Grand Vitara from Maruti Suzuki. Just head over to the ESPN Cricinfo app and you'll find the Cricinfoverse tab just top right of your screen. So we'll pick up the chat with these fine gentlemen at the end of it all. Do join us then.